The Míkmawísimk language is an Eastern Algonquian language spoken by nearly 11,000 Míkmawísimk in Canada and the United States out of a total ethnic Míkmawísimk population of roughly 20,000. The word Míkmawísimk is a plural word meaning "my friends." The adjectival form is Míkmaw. The language's native name is Lnuismk, Míkmawísimk or Míkmwei. Phonology. The phonemic inventory of Míkmawísimk is shown below. Vowels, consonants. The consonants of Míkmawísimk can be divided into two groups: the obstruents p, t, k, k, t, s, x, x, and the sonorants per meter n, w, l, j. The vowels of Míkmawísimk are also counted as sonorants. The obstruents have a wide variety of pronunciations. When they are located word initially next to another obstruent, they are voiceless. However, when they are located between sonorants, they are voiced, and appear as. When the stops and affricate are located word finally, they may be aspirated, and appear as. An example of each kind of pronunciation is given below. Míkmawísimk distinguishes between both long and short vowels and consonants, symbolized in Lnuismk by doubling the consonant. Beyond expanding in length, long consonants add a schwa when they precede other consonants. For instance, compare n, mitk, written in Lnuismk as en mitg with n, ni, mit, written in Lnuismk as en mit or tox, tu, pi, la, weg, written in Lnuismk as tokju ila weg with ge, c, gore, weg, written in Lnuismk as jaziafweg. Lnuismk orthography occasionally begins words with consonant clusters, such as with gtan or mgumi. However, such clusters are pronounced over separate syllables, with a schwa preceding the cluster. For instance, gtan is pronounced ek, ta, n, while mgumi is pronounced m, ku, mi. On the other hand, word final clusters, such as in asagag, are pronounced over a single syllable. Compare the pronunciation of asagag, a, c, getk, with mestic, mes, tek. Syntax. Míkmawísimk uses free word order, based on emphasis rather than a traditionally fixed order of subjects, objects and verbs. For instance, the sentence, "I saw a moose standing right there on the hill," could be stated, "Sap Mikela nemaknatet tiam kakamit," or "Sap Mikela tiam nemaknatet kakamit." The latter sentence puts emphasis on the moose by placing tiam earlier in the utterance. Further complicating matters is the fact that Míkmawísimk, as a polysynthetic language, has verbs which usually contain the sentence's subject and object. For instance, the aforementioned sabmik translates to "I saw him." While it is thus difficult to classify Míkmawísimk under traditional word order categories such as SV or SOV, a more fixed aspect in the language comes in the morphology of its verbs. Certain areas of internal morphology of verbs in Míkmawísimk have regular placement. For instance, when the aspect of a verb is included, it appears as the first prefix, while the negative marker always appears directly after the verb root. An example for both of these instances can be seen in the Míkmawísimk verb kisi pornat kati, translated as "they cannot get out." The prefix kisi marks the verb as being in the completive aspect, whereas the negative marker w appears directly after the verb root ati. Unfortunately, these solidly placed elements of verbs are paired with markers that can appear throughout the word, depending again on emphasis. An emphasis in particular can appear fluidly throughout verbs. In short, while a few specific aspects of Míkmawísimk can be predicted, its syntax in general is largely free and dependent on context. Writing system. Míkmawísimk is written using a number of Latin alphabets based on ones devised by missionaries in the 19th century. Previously, the language was written in Míkmawísimk hieroglyphic writing, a script of partially native origin. The Francis Smith orthography used here was developed in 1974, and adopted as the official orthography of the Mi'kmaq Nation in 1980. It is the most widely used orthography, used by Nova Scotian Mi'kmaq and by the Mi'kmaq Grand Council. It is quite similar to the lexicon orthography, differing from it only in its use of the straight apostrophe or acute accent instead of the colon to mark vowel length. When the Francis Smith orthography was first developed, the straight apostrophe was the designated symbol for vowel length. However, due to software applications incorrectly auto-correcting the tick to a curly apostrophe, a secondary means of indicating vowel length was formally accepted, the acute accent. The barred II is sometimes replaced by the more common circumflex II. In Listaguj orthography, an apostrophe marks long vowels, and the letter G is used instead of the letter K. The 19th century Pacifique orthography omits W and Y, using O and I for these. It also ignores vowel length. The 19th century orthography of Silas Tertius Rand is also given in the table below. This orthography is more complex than the table suggests, particularly as far as vowel quantity and quality is concerned. Number system. 1 to 10. Míkmawísimk uses a decimal numeral system. Every multiple-digit number is formed by using one of the first 9 numerals as a prefix or a preceding word, as seen in the number for 10. Lnuismk, a combination of the prefix NEWT and the root ISGAQ meaning 10, while 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 all use a single word containing a prefix. The tens between 60 and 90 use the numeral as a preceding word to a separate word meaning 10. Tezazgak. For instance, 60 is written as Asigam Tezazgak. Numbers between the tens are stated through multiple word phrases beginning with the 10-based root number, such as Lnuismk, followed by Jil and ending with one of the 9 numerals. For instance, the number 28 is constructed as Tapuishkok Jel Agumuljin, or literally 20 and 8. For numbers beyond 99, Míkmawísimk uses a pattern similar to that of 60 to 99, with numeral words preceding separate roots which identify higher numbers. For instance, 300 is written as Cstgastnikan, while 2000 is written as Tapu Pichuimtanik. The exception to this pattern of the numbers chapter 100 and 1000, which are simply the roots Gastnikan and Pichuimtanik respectively. Similarly to digits between the tens, the connecting word Jel is used between hundreds and tens, or thousands and hundreds. For example, the number 3452 is written as Cst Pichuimtanik Jel New Gastnikan Jel Lnuismk Jel Tapu. On top of this basic structure, numbers in Míkmawísimk must agree with the animacy of whatever they are counting. For instance, when speaking of 2 people, one would use the word tapasijik as opposed to the number used for 2 days, tapunik, while the suffix ijik to denote the counting of animate subjects and the suffix gnaq to denote the counting of inanimate subjects are common. Animacy marking suffixes are somewhat fluid and vary by number and dialect. Language revitalization efforts and teaching. Cape Breton University's Unamarki College specializes in Míkmawísimk history, culture and education. As of 2013, it has some 250 Aboriginal students. Quote, "Parents come to me and say they hear their children in the backseat of the car speaking Míkmawísimk and they're excited," said the Míkmawísimk language instructor at Lnuismk Míkmawísimk School in Indian Brook. Míkmawísimk language courses are mandatory from grades primary to 12 at the school, which only opened 6 years ago. Evening classes are starting as of October 2013. Also as of 2013, Lunenburg County, Nova Scotia's Míkmawísimk Burial Grounds Research and Restoration Association has about 40 students in its Míkmawísimk language revitalization classes, and Míkmawísimk greetings are becoming more common in public places. Language history and related languages. Míkmawísimk is one of the Algic languages, a family that once spanned from a small portion of California across central Canada, the Midwestern United States, and the northeastern coast of North America. Within this family, Míkmawísimk is part of the Eastern Algonquian subgroup spoken largely along the Atlantic coast. It is closely related to several extant languages, such as Malisite Passamaquoddy, Massachusetts and Munsee, as well as extinct languages like Abenaki and Lnuismk. Beyond having a similar language background and sharing close geographic proximity, the Míkmawísimk notably held an alliance with 4 other tribes within the Eastern Algonquian language group known as the Wabanaki Confederacy. In short, a history of long-term language contact has existed between Míkmawísimk and its close linguistic relatives. Míkmawísimk has many similarities with its fellow Eastern Algonquian languages, including multiple word cognates. For instance, compare the Míkmawísimk word for woman epit to the Malisite epit, or the varying related words for the color white. Waped in Míkmawísimk, wapi in Malisite, wapi in Munsee, wobi in Abenaki and wop in Lnuismk. Even outside of the Eastern Algonquian subgroup, there exist similar cognates within the larger Algic family, such as the Cree Wapiscore and the Miami Illinois Wapi. Like many Native American languages, Mi'kmaq uses a classifying system of animate versus inanimate words. However, while the animacy system in general is common, the specifics of Mi'kmaq's system differ from even closely related Algic languages. For instance, in Wampanoag, the word for sun cone is inanimate, while the word for earth aki is animate, a fact used by some scholars to claim that the Wampanoag people were aware of the Earth's rotation around an unmoving sun. However, in Mi'kmaq, both the word for sun Nagusa and the word for earth Ugskamu are animate, and parallel cultural knowledge regarding astronomy cannot be gleaned through the language. Much like grammatical gender, the core concept of animacy is shared across similar languages, while the exact connotations animacy has within Míkmawísimk are unique. In English and French-speaking areas, traces of the Míkmawísimk can be found largely in geographical names within regions historically occupied by the Míkmawísimk people, including Quebec and several towns in Nova Scotia such as Antigonish and Shubenacadie. Moreover, several Míkmawísimk words have made their way into colonizing languages. The English words caribou and toboggan are borrowings from Míkmawísimk. The name caribou was probably derived from the Míkmawísimk words alabou or calipu, meaning the one who pours. Marc Lescarbot in his publication in French 1610 used the term caribou. Silas Tertius Rand translated the Míkmawísimk word calibou as caribou in his Míkmawísimk English dictionary. The aforementioned use of hieroglyphic writing in pre-colonial Míkmawísimk society shows that Míkmawísimk was one of the few Native American languages to have a writing system before European contact. Bakker identified 2 Basque loanwords in Míkmawísimk. presumably due to extensive trade contact between Basque sailors and Native Americans in the 16th century. The overall friendly exchanges starting in mid-16th century between the Míkmawés and the Basque whalers provided the basis for the development of a Algonquin Basque pidgin, with a strong Míkmaw imprint, are recorded still in use in the early 18th century. Place names from Míkmawísimk, Acadie, from Míkmawísimk Quadi, a word used by the natives to designate a fertile area like Passamaquoddy, Shubenacadie and Tricadia. Amki, from Míkmawísimk Amki. Cascapedia, from Míkmawísimk Casca and Pegia. Corsapscal, from Míkmawísimk Gersofshij, meaning stony bottom, swift water, or rocky point, likely referring to the rocky riverbed of the Corsapscal River. Gaspe Peninsula, from Míkmawísimk Gaspedig. Gaspe, Quebec, Gaspe. Matapedia, from Míkmawísimk Matapagiag and Pegia, referring to the Matapedia River that crosses the town just before its confluence with the Restigouche River. Paspebiag, from Míkmawísimk Papjagipsgiag, meaning split flats or lagoon. Quebec, from Míkmawísimk Gapig. Restigouche, from Míkmawísimk Listigouche. Lac Humqui, from Míkmawísimk Amki. Siabec, from Míkmawísimk Sacpediac. Shediac, from Míkmawísimk Sedaic, which means running fine. Tartamagouche, from Takamagouche, which means barred across the entrance with sand. A 2012 book by the Míkmawísimk linguist Bernie Francis and anthropologist Trudy Sable, The Language of This Land, Míkmawki, examines the relationship between Míkmawk language and landscape.